The stadium is rocking. It is go time. The entertainers are back. Rugby league at its absolute best.
Hello and welcome. This is Midday News. The body of a young woman was found in the early hours of Tuesday morning in Barina Central Province. Central Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector Joseph Saleh said the perpetrator has been apprehended and is now in police custody. The matter is now a subject of investigation, and PPC Saleh said details will be known once all facts are established. However, he confirmed that a woman was holding her child when she was attacked. The United Nation in Papua New Guinea has expressed concerns about the forced eviction at Barony following the death of a young woman. UN in a statement said while they condemn acts of sexual and gender-based violence and call for justice for the victim, authorities should not do a collective punishment which affects vulnerable members of community, including women, children, the elderly, and persons with disability. UN is calling on authorities to ensure their actions are conducted in accordance with human rights principles, due process, and the rule of law. Meantime, police in a statement earlier this week said the eviction was not related to the killing of the young woman. It was part of an ongoing eviction process that was put on hold towards the end of last year. The National Department of Health and UNAID has reassuring the public that HIV testing and treatment services remain available throughout the country. The National Department of Health has secured a 12-month supply of essential HIV commodities. An assessment of ART clinics and HIV testing clinics in late January confirmed there were no disruption to services. Deputy Health Secretary of Public Health Ken Wai confirmed that there is no shortage of HIV drugs and reagents in PNG, saying the government finances all ART drugs and reagents. Wai says an estimated 48,000 men, women and children living with HIV are currently receiving ART treatment. The 2025 academic year for the Divine Word University was opened with a Eucharistic celebration on Friday, February 17th, by Bishop of Goroka Diocese. In his homily, the bishop reminded the DW community of the importance of prioritizing their spiritual lives amid the many demands of academic and personal responsibilities. He reminded staff and students that when God is put first, everything else, including studies, lecturers' work, and relationship, will fall into place. Following the Mass, DW President Professor Father Philip Gibbs officially declared the 2025 academic year open, reinforcing the university's mission of holistic education. With this strong foundation in faith and learning, the DW community steps forward into 2025 with purpose, resilience, and a shared commitment to excellence. To overseas news, experts believe so-called virtual power plants could play a key role in Australia's energy future. The technology links households with rooftop, solar, and batteries to create a local grid.
Pippa Buchanan's house is in many ways a modern type of power plant.
This is literally the beating heart of the system.
A battery is attached to the wall of her garage at Kawarama, 3 hours south of Perth. The battery, in turn, charged by an array of solar panels on the roof above. What doesn't get used is exported.
We probably are oversupplied for our current needs.
Like millions of other Australians, Pippa and her husband took the plunge and invested in solar. They're part of a so-called virtual power plant in which an energy company leases them solar panels and a battery. In return, there's a catch.
When they need to, they can use our battery either as storage or as supply to the grid, and they can also occasionally turn our solar panels off if they need to, if there's too much supply.
Energy companies say the circumstances where solar needs to be spilled are rare, and households are forewarned and compensated. They say Australia's occasional overabundance of solar needs to be managed, and VPPs can help.
When you install solar and battery in people's homes, they all individually have a power plant that can provide that exact same service. But they're too small individually. When you put them together, they can add up to something that's quite significant.
Coordinating Australia's rapidly growing fleet of solar panels, batteries and other clean tech looms as a key plank and key challenge of the energy transition. Experts say it should be encouraged, particularly where households participate willingly, but they're warning against heavy-handedness.
Building a network that is oriented around the customer is the issue, and it's really one that government needs to get a solid grip on.
For Pippa Buchanan, the sacrifice is worth the rewards.
A smoky mouse breeding program in Canberra is successfully boosting the native rodents' numbers and genetic diversity in the world, offering hope to other species in decline.
In a tiny climate-controlled shipping container in Canberra, researchers are trying to get critically endangered native mice to mate.
We slowly introduce the male and the female together over a period of days, about a week. We have a setup that allows them to sort of smell each other and start communicating in ways before they're physically introduced and able to actually interact. This just helps them feel more secure with each other, to start to bond before we give them access to each other, and then most of the time it goes really well.
Unlike the common mouse, smoky mice do not breed in plague proportions. With up to 8 offspring a year, they struggle to survive in the wild with feral cats, habitat loss and limited prospects on the mating scene.
Essentially, your options for a mate are quite limited, and the risk of breeding with related animals increases, and we call that inbreeding. So as inbreeding increases, we lose genetic diversity.
The smoky mouse isn't the only species in a dwindling gene pool. A groundbreaking global study has revealed an alarming decline in genetic diversity across species worldwide. Published in the scientific journal Nature, it was an extraordinary international effort. 57 scientists from 20 countries trawling through over 80,000 scientific articles published across 30 years.
What we found was genetic diversity is declining globally. So there was an overall loss of genetic diversity across the tree of life. This was particularly bad for mammals and birds.
That's largely being driven by land use changes, feral animals, disease, climate change and human activities like hunting and logging. But they also found positive news.
The conservation actions we found were associated with an increase in genetic diversity or a maintenance of genetic diversity, so no loss, were supplementation. So adding new individuals to a population. What I want people to take away from this is that if we invest in these things, we can make a change.
For the smoky mouse, that process starts with release into a predator-free enclosure with food, water and a pre-dug burrow.
It's basically a bucket in the ground with a pipe coming out of it that I've buried for them.
Protecting the resilience of species, great and small.
In sports, after coming off a big loss to Scotland, 47 points to 67 on Monday in the first game, the PNG Peppers regrouped to come back for a tough challenge against the First Nations Australia on Tuesday, unfortunately going down to a close 52-59 scoreline in the Pacific Horse Sports Netball Series.
Day 2 of the Pacific Horse Sports Netball Series headed into another tough challenge for the PNG Peppers as they regrouped to better their performance after their first loss to Scotland. Peppers' second match against the First Nations Black Swans went down to a good challenge as the Peppers changed their lineup to match the test. The Black Swans match was an opportunity to give the Peppers reserves a run as this game did not affect its ranking. However, Peppers wanted to stay competitive, fielding a good team. The first quarter score saw the Peppers leg in a close 12-15 and returned to put up a dominant second half. But the Black Swans, using their height advantage, had the upper hand to lead at second half 44-27. The last quarter was pressure on as Peppers fought back in all departments, executing good play from the mid-court to cut down the Swans. But sloppy play led to Peppers' fall as they accepted another defeat, but a hard-fought match for the PNG ladies, losing 52-59. Peppers' assistant coach Helen Edwards said the team has only come together for 3 days prior to tournament, and there is immense improvement from the young debutants. Susan Oreape, TV1 Sports.
Queenslanders will learn the outcome of an infrastructure review into the 2023 Olympic and Paralympic Games on the 25th of March. The state government unveiled a date during the first parliamentary sitting of the year.
Parliament is back, and with it a pledge on Olympics venues.
On the 25th of March, all will be revealed.
After facing questions for days on its stadium's position, the government has declared answers are on the way.
Our delivery plan will provide a new way forward and get the Games back on track.
The 100-day review will go to the government on March the 8th. From there, the government will consult key stakeholders like the International Olympic Committee and the federal government. Cabinet will then sign off on a delivery plan on March the 24th before both the review and plan are publicly released the next day.
We were told we would have an answer in 100 days. Now we discover it will be nearly 150 days.
Queenslanders no longer want to be embarrassed on the world stage.
More than 5,000 submissions were made to the review.
Keep your promise, Mr Premier. You promised no stadium in Victoria Park, and we want you to keep that promise.
In what was a heated question time in Parliament, the government tried to take aim at Stephen Miles over a recent trip to flood-ravaged North Queensland.
He was on the red wine in the Qantas lounge while he was tweeting about being with flood victims.
The Deputy Premier tabled these photos.
What a disgraceful opposition leader!
It is not unlawful, it is not improper, it is not wrong for people to drink in licensed premises in Queensland. But of course, the LNP sought to make an issue of that this morning.
Meanwhile, Labor's Jimmy Sullivan returned to Parliament after being directed late last year by Stephen Miles to take leave until medical and legal matters were resolved.
I thank my leadership team for giving the time and space to address my health issues, and I thank members of the House from both sides for reaching out to offer a word of support.
That ends the news update. Join us at 6 tonight for the main bulletin.